The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, read about it with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great and very unusual show for you today. We will be talking with three different authors. The first one will be Bob Burke, talking about one of his many books. Shirley Thompson Smith will be talking about her segment in Western Traditions, and Rod Lott will be talking about writing for graphics classics. First, however, Bob Burke with Historic Tulsa, and that means that other town up the turnpike, doesn't it?
Our second most populous town.
Our second most populous town. Actually, this is about the whole county and not just the city.
There have been a couple of 3 books written down the years, good books about Tulsa, but this is the first ever history of Tulsa County. You don't just have the town of Tulsa, the city of Tulsa, but you have cities like Broken Arrow, which probably is the town in Oklahoma that has had its name the longest. For 150 years, Broken Arrow has been called Broken Arrow. Other towns like Oologah and Skiatook and Red Fork, some really neat towns that make up Tulsa County, other than just the city of Tulsa.
So you had to go up there quite a bit, I would assume.
I did. I have wonderful co-authors, and that's part of the charm of this book. This is a coffee table-sized book published by the Oklahoma Heritage Association in conjunction with the Tulsa Historical Society. But my 3 co-authors, it's a bipartisan slate. Republican Charles Ford, who served in the state senate, was dean of the state senate for a long time, wonderful co-author. Roger Randall is the token Democrat, along with me in that scenario. Roger was the president of the Senate, or not president, but the president pro tempore of the Senate years ago, and was a former mayor of Tulsa. And then Burl Ford. Burl, for half a century, collected hundreds of thousands of photographs of Tulsa County. And this coffee table-sized book is based around this collection of photos with a lot of information, facts involved, but the photos from before Tulsa was born to present-day Tulsa makes it really an interesting book.
Well, since you have listed all of the other authors and explained who they are, maybe we ought to mention that you're one of the most prolific authors that is writing today. In fact, you're going to be in the Guinness Book of Records, aren't you?
Oh, they tell me I've written more nonfiction books than anyone in history, which makes me feel very old. But hey, I got 100 books left in me, so we're going to really establish the record.
Right. In fact, in the fall, we call it's the first Wednesday of the month. It must be Bob Burke Day.
Well, I have so many books that seemingly come out just before Christmas.
Right,
I really do.
Well, and this is one that I think anybody who's interested in Oklahoma history would be wanting to put on their Christmas list.
Well, it is, because it's even though it's about Tulsa County, it is really about Oklahoma. The diversity of Oklahoma is what makes our state's history the boldest and most exciting history of any state in the nation, I think. But you have these 2 big things, Native American history and oil and gas, both that come together in Tulsa County, and that is truly the roadmap of Oklahoma's history. We think of Tulsa, and anybody who is a little older like me, we know that Tulsa in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s was the oil capital of the world. In fact, 3/4 of the oil production in the world was controlled by companies with headquarters in Tulsa during those decades. And so we know about this oil thing, but there's such a great Native American history of Tulsa. The name Tulsa itself probably comes from the name Tulsi, which is a creek county, or a creek name back in Alabama. The Creeks moved to what became Tulsa in the 1830s and brought with them, in fact, a neat story. They even brought with them embers of their last fires in Alabama, kept them going all the way on the months-long trip to Tulsa, and then they built a campfire along the Arkansas River with those same embers. So really an exciting history. There was a connection between the generations of Native Americans from Alabama all the way to Tulsa. And they settled along the Arkansas River, brought with them their culture, brought with them their people, brought with them even the name that, although there are a number of stories of how Tulsa actually got its name.
It's one of those things that gets cloudier every year.
Oh, it does. It does, yeah.
So you actually started long before there was a Tulsa County in your retelling of the story.
Oh, yes, because even the Plains Indians who frequented the area along the Arkansas River and then as the creeks came, and then for literally generations before oil and gas was discovered in the early part of the 20th century, it was a farming community. There's this wonderful picture of downtown Tulsa with ruts, mud ruts in the street, and cattle being driven down the main street of Tulsa, because it was really a farming and ranching community, and frankly, was not the largest city in Tulsa County until oil and gas came.
Well, money does make a difference,
It does.
doesn't it? Well, I was just thinking, we usually think of Tulsa as, you know, it has wonderful art museums and a really great cultural atmosphere in Tulsa. So I was enjoying thinking about cattle running down the main street of Tulsa.
Yeah, not exactly what comes to your mind. And that brings my point always that Oklahoma's incredible story is not about places and events, but it's about our people. Same way in Tulsa County. It's not really about the oil and gas industry. It is about the people like Frank Phillips and Bill Skelly and others who simply put Tulsa on the map as an oil production center. Not only within the county were there tremendous finds in the early part of the 20th century of oil and gas, but then all of these companies settled there. J. Paul Getty, you know, his father, both set up offices there. So many of the great offices, the old Sun Oil Company, Amoco, names from our past, that's where they headquartered. And they control so much of the wealth, and that's why Tulsa became a very cosmopolitan town. Thomas Gilcrease, of course, giving his museum to the city of Tulsa, his collection. So much culture in Tulsa, and it's wonderful to write about it.
Now, did you cover up to the present time with their extending the port into Tulsa?
Oh, absolutely,
and that sort of thing?
because that was a great thing. The Port of Catoosa and the Arkansas River Navigation Project, and they are embarking upon a similar MAPS project, such as we've had in Oklahoma City in the last decade. Tulsa County is embarking upon a project to improve their infrastructure. So it's a very current book from at least 200 years up to the present time.
Well, it sounds like a really neat book.
It is.
And something that we would all want on our coffee tables, or at least under the tree at Christmas time.
I think you're right.
It's getting close to that time, isn't it?
It is.
Now, you're going to be with us again next month, aren't you?
I am.
You'll be talking, I think, in November, a biography, I believe, of Bob Paul.
No, let's see.
No?
I think we're doing Gary England.
Gary England.
Oh,
Gary
yes.
England.
We're doing
but-
Gary England, and it's called Friday Night in the Big Town.
Ah, yes, it is.
That book will be out in time for Christmas. It's a wonderful story about one of Oklahoma's most well-known. Many gubernatorial candidates are concerned that when their polls come out, Gary's more well-known than they are.
Well, as long as he's not running for office,
Yes.
what are they worried about?
And he has no intention, I'm authorized to say.
Okay. Well, why would his popularity would drop if he were in the governor's office? Okay. Well, I think you're doing Bob Paul in December, so you're going to be here for several months.
Oh, yes,
talking,
we'll do that.
talking
Okay,
about books
sounds
as
great.
well. So, are you working on anything that hasn't been published yet?
Oh yes, writing the David Bourne biography along with the co-author Professor Von Creel. We expect that to be out for his 66th birthday next April.
That's great. Bob Burke has been here talking about historic Tulsa. It's a wonderful book, and it will be out shortly, and you will be able to find it at your library and your favorite bookstore. After a break, Doug Benton will be talking with Rod Lott.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of the Metropolitan Library System. 2007 will mark Oklahoma's centennial year. 100 years is a long time, but public libraries have been part of this community since the very beginning. And we're still exactly the same as we've been all along, your primary source for information and entertainment. The delivery methods are different now than in the early days. Today we provide free wireless access, free internet access, DVDs, CDs, free programming for people of all ages, along with the traditional books, magazines, and newspapers. But what hasn't changed is our dedication to helping you find exactly what you need. Librarians continue to be the guides to the up-to-date world of information, and our librarians at MLS are the best in the business. So visit your neighborhood MLS library soon, and as they say in the world of libraries, come check us out.
Hi everybody, I'm here today with Rod Lott, who is an author of the Graphic Classics series. Rod, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. We've talked about graphic novels and things on the show before, but we've never had anybody on who actually works with them.
Glad to be here then.
All right, you're a new one here, our first for us. Tell us exactly what the Graphic Classics series is, first off.
It is a series of, you can call them graphic novels, but basically it's comic book adaptations of famous short stories, novellas, and occasionally novels. Novels that are or stories and novels that are in the public domain.
Okay. For people who are watching the show who are as old as I am, maybe remembering the Classics Illustrated series of comics from their childhoods. Is this similar in concept to that?
It is similar in concept. I believe that Classics Illustrated mostly did novels, and they were kind of freewheeling with the adaptations. These are pretty strict adaptations, and they do focus on shorter pieces so that they can fit several stories in one volume.
Yeah. I remember trying to do a book report one time, cheating by using Classics Illustrated. It didn't work out well for me. All right, well, so you've worked on how many of the volumes now?
Since I'm about a year ahead of when they actually come out, I think I'm up to 7 or 8 volumes.
Now, do you get to choose what you want to do, or are you assigned?
No, it is assigned by Tom Pomplin, the publisher out of Wisconsin.
Okay. Does he kind of match up the stories to what he knows that you like to read?
No, each volume focuses on either one author or a theme, such as horror classics. And basically he picks stories that he believes are just in line with my strengths as a writer and offers them to me. I've never said no, but he picks the one that he thinks I'll do best at and just go with that.
Okay. I think generally in the world of comics, people think of artists before they think of writers.
Correct.
Does that bother you at all?
No,
as a
not
writer?
really. Not really.
Do you do any illustrating at all?
None.
No?
No, I'm terrible at it.
Okay. I know a lot of people try to do a little bit of both. Well, how did you originally get involved in this?
The short answer is I just asked, basically. And I wrote a script on spec just to show him that I could do it. Because writing for comic books is basically like screenwriting. You have your stage direction, so to speak, and then you have your dialogue. And I turned that in, and he saw that I could do it and offered me to adapt Edgar Allan Poe's Some Words with a Mummy for the Horror Classics volume. And since that was more of a humorous story, which is my strength lies in humor, I accepted. And from there, I've done pretty much one every volume.
Yeah. It may surprise some of our viewers to hear you compare or just say that Poe wrote humor. We don't usually think of him as being a humorist
No,
writer.
I mean, he wrote a lot of things. Of course, he's known primarily for horror, but Some Words with a Mummy is one of the few stories in which is fairly lighthearted and does have some jokes in it.
Okay. So anybody who's maybe interested in getting involved with this, unsolicited manuscripts are acceptable?
I don't think so. I think
Well, you had a background.
I think
you had a
he's fully
reputation
staffed,
already.
and I don't want to put myself out of a job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I say, you had quite a background in writing anyway. I think.
Yes.
When you adapt a story by a famous writer, do you try to use the writer's words, or do you just try to approximate a style? How do you do it?
Tom is very strict about keeping the writer's original language as much as you can. Now, if there's a word that is so old that no one today knows what it means, yes, you can change that. But we do have to stick to the original language. You can compress and switch things around. As long as you're not changing the meaning, it's kind of tough to do, but it makes sense. I mean, this is not trying to modernize these stories or anything.
Well, I noticed one of the stories that I read for this was your adaptation of the Sherlock Holmes story, The Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb.
Yes.
And in there, they make several references to Fuller's Earth.
Right.
And I noticed that you did not define that, but you translated the German in footnotes.
Yes.
You had translations of the German. How do you decide what's too esoteric for a modern audience and that you do need to define it somehow?
Well, Fuller's Earth, I didn't know what it was either, but honestly, it doesn't matter. You can kind of figure it out, but it's kind of like a MacGuffin from a Hitchcock film. It's not going to detract from your knowledge of the story. As for the German, I felt that translating it would just, add a little depth to it.
Do you have contact with the illustrator, or do you even know who's going to illustrate?
I do know up front who's going to illustrate it. Basically, once I turn in the script and it's approved, I usually have no contact with the artist. Sometimes I do in sending them images, but mostly, I operate on my own, and they do theirs as well.
Does the artist appreciate in a note saying you want a certain thing in this panel, or are you out of it completely when it comes to that?
That's kind of the hidden part of it, is that you write all this, I call stage direction, and you can put, in the background, please put this, or, this character is doing this while this other character talks. And that's the part that is invisible to everyone else. You can put that in there and the artist will draw it, but everyone kind of just assumes that your involvement begins and ends with the dialogue, which is not true.
Yeah, okay. Now, I know the Sherlock Holmes stories especially have been described as being more adventure than mystery, really. When you're working with the story that could be seen in two different ways, how do you determine which way you want to go with it?
Basically, I think the Sherlock Holmes one was for adventure classics, if I'm not mistaken. So you kind of just gear it toward adventure.
Go that way, okay. Now, you have to cut a lot of stuff out.
Yes.
I would assume. Do you make those decisions, what stays in and what stays out, or does Tom ever say, leave this part out, I don't like it?
Sometimes he'll do an abridgment beforehand and say, work from this. Other times, it's just up to me.
Okay.
And basically, I just like to strip out the, all the extraneous stuff that really doesn't move the story forward.
Okay. One of the stories in the Horror Classics volume was by Clark Ashton Smith, who's one of the big three Weird Tales writers. And he's a very fine and precise stylist. Well, he was a poet. Is it difficult to work with someone like that?
I actually had not read any Clark Ashton Smith until then. So the only difficulty for me was just getting used to his style. But I think that story was pretty accessible, and it wasn't as difficult to do as I thought.
Okay, well, we've been talking with Rod Lott about the Graphic Classics series, about writing for comics. Is this the only comics work you do?
So far.
So far, all right. You like to spread out a little bit?
Yeah, I'm working on a solo project too.
All right, well, let us know when it's completed, okay?
I will.
All right, thanks. Thank you, everybody. Coming up after this message, BJ will be talking with Shirley Thompson Smith. He'll be telling you about some Western traditions.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of the Metropolitan Library System. 2007 will mark Oklahoma's centennial year. 100 years is a long time, but public libraries have been part of this community since the very beginning. And we're still exactly the same as we've been all along, your primary source for information and entertainment. The delivery methods are different now than in the early days. Today we provide free wireless access, free internet access, DVDs, CDs, free programming for people of all ages, along with the traditional books, magazines, and newspapers. But what hasn't changed is our dedication to helping you find exactly what you need. Librarians continue to be the guides to the up-to-date world of information, and our librarians at MLS are the best in the business. So visit your neighborhood MLS library soon, and as they say in the world of libraries, come check us out.
Shirley Thompson Smith is an Oklahoma sculptor who is award-winning, known really throughout the world for her wonderful sculpture, and she is part of the book Western Traditions, which showcases some of your gorgeous work. And you say that what you're trying to do with your sculpture is evoke women in tribal societies.
Yes, and I like to get expression in my work, a feeling that comes across to the viewer. And and I like an interesting movement in my sculpture too. It's boring when they just stand there doing nothing, and I always like to have a little movement in it. So.
Now, they are not from a specific tribal society.
No, you can see Mexican, you can see American Indian, you can see Oriental, you can see black. It's a conglomerate of all of them.
Now, do you have people pose so you can do your sculpture?
No, it's right up here.
Okay. Well, then, do you get an idea and say, this is how I want to use a woman to carry out that idea, or do you think, I want to show a woman doing this?
Well, sometimes I do, but mainly I just, if I don't come up with a movement that I want to put in the piece, then I'll kind of scan some books and get some idea of some stance or a movement. And then from there I just go on, and it's just strictly from my imagination then.
Now, you use photography in a really interesting way in your work. I know a lot of sculptors will do photography of particular aspects of whatever it is they want to convey, just to refresh their memory, but you don't do that.
No. I lived in Durango, Colorado for 3.5 years, and I got acquainted with the Navajo Indian women there, and it was they're very interesting, very quiet, very subdued, and kind of laid back a little bit, and I liked their costumes. I found them just fascinating because they were very quiet and serene, but they kind of ruled the roost too. But that's where I kind of got the idea of working with the Native American, and I didn't really do that until I came back to Oklahoma. And I had a family of three kids, and so I had to kind of take the reins, you know. I was divorced, and it took me a while, but then I got back into it through night school and private study, and that's when it kind of came to mind, and one of the galleries suggested that I fall on that time in Durango with the Indian women. And I do a lot of Navajo Indians, and I do a lot of Hopi Indians with the leggings and the butterflies. And go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, your work has been described as iconic figures in their most basic and abstract form.
And I laughingly say that I do big hands and big feet because I have them and I hid them when I was a kid, and now I'm promoting them.
Well, there's something very monumental about the work that you do, but I think, like all great artists, you're able to take the specific and make it universal. And I think in your work, more than many, it is it's universal, and then you look for the specific in it.
Well, I've been with this organization now for 22 years. In the very beginning, when I was voted on by the artists to be in this organization, I really didn't feel like I even had a chance, because mine lean a little more into the contemporary, some of them, because I do a lot of smooth work. And I just didn't feel like maybe I would be in this group, and I was very happy when I was accepted. And I kind of forgot the question, what you were asking.
Well, we were talking about going from the universal to the specific, because your figures are iconic, and yet I think when we look at them, we can still see something very specific related to, if not a particular individual, certainly something specific in our own lives.
Yeah.
Especially if we're women.
Well, and I think, laughingly I've said this, most of my women kind of have a longing look or a searching look, and I think that's what I'm doing through life, you know. And it's, whether it's iconic or what, I don't know, but they do look like they're searching for something.
They're certainly looking into the distance.
Yes, yes.
Now, you use photography as you're actually sculpting, but not in the way some sculptors do.
No. A lot of times I'll take photographs of them, because then your mistakes just jump out at you when you see them in a picture, when you can't see them in the live.
Yeah. It's like for somebody who's writing, they don't see the typos till it's coming off the press.
Right. That's right, yes.
And you found a way to see it before it comes
well,
off
you can
the
do that
press.
with mirrors too, but photography helps a lot. So, but other than that, that's the only thing I use as for photography in my work.
Because it really all comes from up here.
Yeah. Someone asked me when I do very few men, and someone asked him when I did the men and the Indian men, and he said, where did they come from? And I said, somewhere back here. I don't know. So I don't really do that many men, it's more women. And I laughingly say they're a little more ripply than men. The women are smoother, more refined.
And do you get up in the morning when you've finished your last sculpture and you say, I've got to start on something, or do you wait until you have an idea that?
A lot of times I'll go into my studio and work, and I've done a whole day's work on a piece, and I'll end up tearing it up because I just can't get what I'm trying to get at. And then I'll go in the next day and start on something, and it just melts and goes in the phase that I want to go into. But it just depends on your, I guess, disposition or what, or artistic feelings. And I have not been that very artistic for the last couple of weeks. I've been very busy, but I do want to get in. I just finished a monumental piece for the Attorney General's building in Oklahoma City, 9 feet tall. So,
Well, I think you deserve a couple of weeks of not being artistic if you've overseen a 9 foot tall
well, I get hard on myself when I don't go out to that studio,
Yeah.
and it's when I feel real guilty if I miss too much. I used to work a lot longer than I do now. And of course, I'm 67, and I don't plan to give it up for a while. There are days when I think, oh, I'm going to give it up, but no, it's just in me, and I don't know what I'd do if I didn't do it.
Now, this sculpture for the Attorney General, has it been installed, or when will it be
It
installed?
will be installed in August, and it's a 9 foot Cheyenne Indian woman in full dress. And it's, they're very, very happy with it, which I'm glad of, and I can't wait for it to get installed in the building. It'll be right in the entrance.
Great. So we can all come and see it?
Oh, yes, yes.
Great.
So I don't know the exact date of the dedication.
Okay. Well, we'll keep our eye out for it, and I want to thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it very much.
That interview was taped at the Prix de West at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in June of this year. And since Doug is sitting next to me, that means it's Writer's Almanac time, and I'm betting that he has the date of an author.
I do. October 11th, who was born in 1925, is the birthday of Elmore Leonard, the great American crime writer working right now, who had a character voice, I think a profound observation about the writing life in America in one of his books when he said, I once asked a literary agent what kind of writing pays best, and he said ransom notes.
On that uplifting thought, we want to thank everybody for being with us and hope you'll be with us again next time.